All right, you're listening to a late start of the Hemp Connoisseur Radio. My two guests got stuck behind an accident. It took them a little while, so we figured let's wait 11 minutes and get started then. So tonight I have John Patterson and Josh Robb. Am I saying that right? Rabe. Yep. Rabe. Okay. I always think Broccoli Rob.
Josh Rabe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we have John and Josh. You guys both have a pretty storied background, but both have been involved in sustainable energy, architecture, building materials. You guys gave me some really long bios, but we're going to shorten it a little bit just to get right down to it. What is the company that you have right now?
What we have now is Colorado Industrial Hemp Supply.
Right on, right on. And what is the focus of Colorado Industrial Hemp Supply?
Well, our focus is to find innovative uses for the hemp product and value adding that product to come up with something that we really do need in Colorado. And one of the main things that we found, one of the things we're starting with, is the industrial hemp home, where we'll actually use it as a thermal wall system.
Excellent. Well, and I think, we did a featured article on the cover of our last issue, and the next issue is coming out, actually.
Oh, great.
The next day. In that, we talked about hemp biodiesel, and everybody got really excited about that. And what I had to start explaining to them is like, look, it's a very exciting thing, the hemp biodiesel. It is great because everybody thinks that cars create the worst carbon footprint in our country, and they're absolutely wrong about that. Houses do.
You're right.
And so I'm way more excited actually about what you guys are working on than what everybody's talking about with the hemp biodiesel. So, I mean, it's really amazing to see. I mean, I've seen pictures of houses in Canada made from hemp. We saw that at the symposium, and they show the heat escaping from a house not made with hemp, and then you look at a house made from hemp, and these are infrared pictures, and it was still blue, because it's an amazing insulator.
Yeah, they hold their heat really well.
They do. Before we get kind of into what you guys have been working on that side, though, I want to go through a little bit of your backgrounds.
Sure.
So I don't know who'd like to talk first, Josh, John. But how did you get involved in hemp? How did you discover the value of hemp, especially for construction materials?
Well, then I'll go first, and then Josh will follow.
Right on.
Well, I've been working with wood and been a carpenter since the 70s, since I was a kid, essentially, and been reading Popular Mechanics and Mother Earth News, and I still have my 1976 copy of the Whole Earth catalog.
Right on.
So I've been thinking about living sustainably and different ways to build homes, especially. I was attracted to that living structure and living as lightly on the planet as what you can.
Sure.
And back then, I guess I thought it was just cool to do that. I didn't realize that it was, that was our biggest impact.
Right.
It was the buildings. And so through the years, I've done several projects, and I built my own off-the-grid home up in the Redstone Canyon and lived there for 9 years.
Could you tell me a little bit about the off-the-grid home, just to give our listeners an idea of it, what it takes? Because I talked with Bill Allhouse last time, and we said there was a common misconception when somebody says off the grid. They're not really off the grid if they're using solar energy, unless they have their own battery packs to store it and everything. I mean, are you talking about a true off the grid home?
Yeah, we had batteries,
okay.
And solar panels, and so in essence, he could still be cracked. We were on the grid because we were hooked up to a propane tank, and we relied on that for some of our heat and things like that. So to be truly off the grid, you'd have to let go of that too.
Yes, I guess.
So we were partially off the grid, I guess.
Which is still a great step.
We essentially had our own power plant.
Right.
We had solar panels and a backup generator and a bank of batteries and a well and a stream that ran by too. And we had, the main thing about it was that we had to plan the appliances ahead. You couldn't have things like dishwashers as easily. They were a big drain on there, so you had to find another way to do that.
What
did
you
do them by hand?
You had to do them by hand. Honestly, I never use my dishwasher. I still just do it by hand. I don't.
So
maybe it's
you're good to
relaxing.
go then. And then the way you heat it's a little bit different. You try to find fans and motors that don't use as much electricity. And you buy a super efficient refrigerator and maybe even a propane refrigerator. And washer and dryer, you can still use those, but you got to choose those wisely as well. You got to choose top of the line.
Right.
You're spending more on a refrigerator than double what most people spend on their refrigerator for
Right.
a good off-the-grid one.
But then the energy savings over time really does compensate for that, probably, I would assume. Right?
Well, when you have solar panels, it means that you would have to run the bigger appliance. You would have to have more solar panels and more batteries, and those are very expensive. So
Sure.
the first thing you got to do is cut use,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the reasons why I'm attracted to the hemp process, the hemp home building process, is because it lessens all of those other things. It really does lessen your heating needs. And so most people that live in the mountains off the grid, they're going to burn a lot of wood. Well, that's free, right? You got trees in your backyard.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, work all fall and half the winter.
That's a lot of work,
That's a lot.
exactly.
Getting enough wood to keep your house warm enough.
Sure.
It is work. And
Well,
so anything you can do to lessen that means that you get to have playtime. And we like that.
I think that's a really good point you make, John, because I think one of the issues when it comes to living sustainably and utilizing renewable energies and things like that is that a lot of people out there are like, it's just so much work. I'm already busy as heck, and now I got to do all this extra work just so I can live sustainably. And so hemp is a good
Right.
solution for that
It
to
is.
help lessen that amount of work. I think that's a really great point you make. Was the house, did it have hemp materials in it?
I built this 20 years ago.
Oh, okay,
and
gotcha.
I was an early framer in my career. I knew how to frame. And so I stick built it and super insulated it, and it was a pretty efficient home overall.
Sure.
We had very low utility bills. You have utility bills in the upkeep of your property and things like that, but overall it was a enjoyable life up there.
Right on. Is the house still standing?
It is.
Yeah. Is it still yours?
Narrowly escaped the High Park fire.
Yeah.
But it's not mine. No.
Okay.
We got
Gotcha.
rid of it a few years ago.
Understood. So after the house, then what was your next step on your journey?
Well, I had several projects. I owned a coffee house. I remodeled an old 100-year-old structure into a restaurant facility and ran a coffee house for about 4 years there. And I got to know my community really well. And then after we got out of that, I got back into the construction industry and framed some houses and things like that. And I was looking for something different, though. I was looking for a better way to build than what I was seeing, and I was taking green classes through the city of Fort Collins, and I found that what they were offering as green was really just locking yourself up tighter inside of a petroleum box.
That's a
And
good point.
I wasn't too happy with that as far as a green message. I
Yeah.
just didn't think it was green. You were still using the same polluting materials as far as the energy that goes into them. So we have a term called embodied energy, and that's another thing you'll be interested in, because that's how much energy does it take to actually build something,
Right,
or
okay.
to produce something.
Sure,
So
sure.
if it's concrete, you have a high embodied energy because it has to be heated to super high temperatures. Where we use it just a little bit of lime, and it doesn't have to be heated to nearly the temperatures as what concrete does. So overall, the hemp has a lower embodied hemp energy as it goes into the home.
Even when you utilize it as hempcrete, because you're using concrete and hempcrete with the hemp, correct?
A little bit,
A
but
little
not
bit.
very much.
So, because of that, you don't have to go to as high of a heat then, or is it still? Do you still need a little bit of that? I mean, you still need a little bit of the heat to get the concrete.
The lime heats at maybe about 400 or 500 degrees in its processing, where concrete might be upwards of 2,000 to 3,000.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Wow, that's a big difference. That's a really big difference.
And so there's that savings there. Plus, it's a plant that grows in the in the woods, and so it has its attributes of sequestering CO2 as it's growing.
Of course.
And it does actually after the product is installed in the house as well.
Okay.
As the lime cures, the structure becomes harder and harder over time, but it actually sequesters carbon dioxide out of the air.
Wow. Now, how long does it actually take for it to fully cure? Because it's already in the house and it's actually still curing in the house, and that's something I didn't know about.
It gets harder over time.
We talked before, yeah.
And so you can in a couple of weeks with decent weather. If it was a moisture week or something, we'd want to analyze and see if we wanted to wait a little bit longer so that it dries in the center before we put our stucco finish on the outside and our final finish on the inside.
Gotcha.
Make sure it dries out plenty well, and then after that has happened. Then you're fine. You won't notice it, but over time that cures and gets harder and harder. And we have evidence of one home in Japan that's over 300 years old. So maybe it's fully cured yet. I don't know. It'd be worthy of some tests of that old home.
Now, and
it's fully cured
in
yet.
relation, how long does it take for just regular concrete to cure? Does it take less of a time, or is it around similar? Or
less of a time. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons that in the United States we've gone away from lime type of mixes and more into concrete, is because it's more. It tends to fit better with the construction schedule. It's a definite time. You can build on it the next day.
I gotcha. Okay.
And you can do anything. You know, I mean, you have some cure times and things like that, depending on weather. But it's a little bit more. You can do what you want a little bit quicker with regular concrete.
Right. Now, when you're using hempcrete as a foundation, does it cause problems when it comes to settlement as that foundation settles? Because I know that's an issue in a lot of areas here in Colorado. I mean, especially built on hills, and you know, that foundation will settle and it crack. You know, because I know when I was looking for houses, I said the first thing you look at is the foundation. That foundation is cracked. You already know you're probably going to have some issues down the line, or something you're going to have to address right away. Is that an issue with hempcrete, or does it?
Well, like any other building product, hemp has its limitations.
Of course.
And so that's the first thing we've got to do, is understand those and figure out what we can do with what we can't. In the future, we'll be able to have hemp foundations out of blocks and things like that. What we work on right now is a thermal wall system, which is above ground, and it's not for foundation.
Okay.
It doesn't actually have, the way we use it is more for those insulative properties and the breathability of a wall system. Okay. So everything's above grade.
Gotcha.
And not relying on it. We frame them just like a normal timber frame or stick frame house, and then the hemp is packed around that thermal wall system, so it takes the place of your drywall, your insulation, your exterior boarding, your Tyvek, and your siding. It's an entire 12-inch thermal wall system.
So basically, you're looking at on the inside of the house, and without the drywall, you don't even need the drywall at all.
No, we'll finish that with a finish of your choice. You can leave kind of the hemp look to it, you know, so that it looks more like
very organic,
the actual
looking,
hemp thing here, or you can finish it more of like a plaster look, a smoother look, more of an old time.
Or I guess somebody, if they really loved working with drywall, I guess they could put drywall on the inside, couldn't they? Or?
Well, we have some alternatives to drywall that still maintain the breathability of the material, because one of the big things that you're paying for is the breathability of it, and that's important in a house because it slowly lets air in and out of your structure, and slowly lets moisture in and out of your structure. And so you have less demand for a big heating and cooling system, because what we have to do when we seal it up so tight is we have to have a heating and cooling system to dry that out. That air out, essentially, because our breath emits the water, where a breathable house actually lets that in and out. So it's a healthier way to live because of that. It's healthier because there's less mold and mildew involved in the house.
Right.
And it's more comfortable too because of that.
That's it. Yeah, and you're not running your heater or your air conditioning as often, really. You know,
if at all. That's the hope.
If at all. I've heard that, if at all. And I know we actually have to go to a break. I mean, the first segment already flew, and all we did was talk with you.
Yeah, we could go on for a long time, for sure.
He's got a lot of knowledge, so it's definitely...
Well, when we come back from the break, Josh, we want to talk to you and kind of how you got involved in all this, and like how you guys met and kind of teamed up, and we'll get more and more in depth on what you've been working on as far as hemp materials for construction of the home and what the next step is for you guys.
Great.
All right, thanks for listening. We'll be back in just a moment.
Call Connoisseur at 1-800-420-5757 for all your insurance needs. Connoisseur understands the risks you face each day, and we are there to protect your business and your investment. Since 2010, Connoisseur has been serving the cannabis industry nationwide. Call Connoisseur at 1-800-420-5757 or visit us on the web at connoisseur.com to learn more about our insurance and risk management services. Proud member of the NCIA.
Whether you are a commercial grower or cultivate as a hobby, No Dough Urban Garden Supply is Denver's first stop for your hydroponic grow needs. With a wide range of products including House and Garden, Botanicare, and Fox Farm, their knowledgeable staff can get you started on your first garden or help you with your well-established business. No Dough Urban Garden Supply is located in downtown Denver at 1330 27th Street, 4 blocks north of Coors Field near MMD of Colorado. They are open 6 days a week from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 303-296-3424 or visit them on the web at www.nodoughurbangardensupply.com.
River Rock Wellness, located at 4935 York Street and on the corner of 6th and Calumet, right next to Lamar's Donuts at 990 West 6th Avenue, offers in-house, award-winning organic medical cannabis flowers, concentrates, tinctures, topicals, edibles, and raw superfoods for all patients. Prices range from $160 to $240 an ounce, with member and non-member benefits including caregiver, SSI, SSDI, vets, travelers, and sponsored programs. With brands you trust like Healthy Creations, Rare Dankness, Rock Butter, Priva, Token Daily, and more. Become a River Rock patient or renew with us today and receive a $100 ounce of choice. Offer good through April 20th, 2013.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
All right, we're back with my guests, John Patterson and Josh Rabe.
That's correct.
I'm just saying it right now. And, you know, the first segment we were, you know, talking with you, John, and now, you know, kind of finding out how you got involved in this and kind of a little bit of your journey to the hemp side of the hemp side of the force, I guess. And so, Josh, I'd love to hear from you. I mean, how did you get involved in this? I mean, give our listeners a little bit of your background and like kind of your expertise, and then let them know how you discovered hemp as a material.
You know, I think I discovered it by accident and definitely through John's passion.
Mm-hmm.
I had probably discovered hemp when I was in high school, growing by the river, railroad tracks, and didn't really know what it was, but knew that, you know, over time, I always knew that there was some potential for hemp in some of these industrial areas. And definitely knew about the rope, had seen lots of hemp jewelry and stuff like that. But that's really the extent of my knowledge. And so John actually talked to me before he left for Wisconsin for the building class that's been just absolutely fantastic, and said, you know, I'm going to go out and do this. I said, good luck. Tell me about it. You know, I don't think I gave, you know, he was real excited. He was like, man, you don't believe I'm going to get to, you know, and I'm like, oh, well, good luck. And John and I have been friends for, probably 4 or 5 years, and we're in a drum group together called the Stone People Drummers, and so we'd known each other on that relationship, but really it wasn't until John came back from Wisconsin where the class was, and we went off to a little adventure called Man Camp that we like to do every year, and John and I ended up riding up together, and we really, you know, talked about hemp and the power of it, and that just hit every light bulb for me. And then I, you know, once the switch was flipped, and I understood the potential of what this means to our planet, our people, our environment, our Mother Earth. And I said, wow, this is it. This is the way to go. And really, we got back from Man Camp and said, you know, we gotta manifest this. We gotta make something happen with this, because it didn't seem plausible until here fairly recently, until 64.
Sure.
And now all of a sudden, all these things we've been dreaming about, biodiesel and these green energies are, here it is. Here's the solution. And it just never seemed plausible before. Now that's really all I think about in a lot of ways, is how we can save the planet, what the social impact of this is going to be as far as energy consumption. And just, you know, I look at things completely differently than I did maybe 6 months ago. So really for me, it was just like I see when I talk to other people now about hemp and what it can do in an industrial capacity, I see their light switch on, and then all of a sudden they got hemp on the brain and they're talking about it with their friends. And that's really a big part of our business culture now, is getting that education value out and culturating it. That's why we like to do the music and make skits, and we think that's just a real valuable part of this whole overall movement and for our business.
Sure. Well, and you know, the biggest thing I say the biggest thing I do as well is educating people on hemp. I mean, yes, the magazine, we focus on the medical cannabis side as well as the industrial hemp side, and I educate them on the medical cannabis side, obviously, when I just speak with them too. But most people have heard and know some of the benefits on the medical side of cannabis plant. When it comes to industrial hemp, the vast numbers of the population still are, I mean, very ignorant about it, you know, and I mean, just because they just haven't been presented with the information.
That's what we found too.
Very first step is there's no THC in the HEMP.
That's right. It's
There's
0.3%.
You know?
You can't. I mean,
you can try it all you want. I think we might have tried it back in high school too.
Yeah,
we
of
might have
course.
tried it all we wanted, and I can guarantee.
Yeah.
There's none of that value in it. However, the value for applying it, and JP and I really feel like it's up to us to show people. That, you know, okay, so you say you can build a house out of hemp. Where is it? I want to see it. And so it's really up for people like us to go out and prove that this can be done and really educate in that capacity, and in a lot of capacities, really. But
Right. So now you guys are testing and creating materials right now for building. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're working on that.
And so give me kind of a scope of some of the things you've been working on as far as what types of materials and what you're working with and testing, where you're getting your hemp
the first thing is we can't go to Home Depot. So
yeah, you can't.
You know, there's lots of room for value-added products from what we can get from those places. But I'll let JP talk a little bit more about kind of what we're finding and what he's found to be very successful.
Okay.
Well, it was a day after that the High Park fire started, and I found myself on an airplane to go out and take a class on how to work with hempcrete.
Okay.
And there was a guy coming from Ireland that was one of the world's foremost experts on how to do this with hemp. And so, you know, I didn't have much of a job, so time wasn't as much of an issue. But on the other hand, I didn't have very much money. But I felt a reason why I needed to go out there and learn how to build a house out of hemp.
Sure.
And it sounded really, really like a good option to me. So I got a chance to go out for 3 days and really learn how that process works, how the hemp mixes with the lime, when to do that, how to prepare the surface, and how to actually make a hemp wall. And all that stuff's pretty important because when you're thinking about building somebody's house, you know, you really do want to get it right the first time.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I brought his book home with me and a lot of knowledge and also some pretty amazing connections as far as where to get the hemp because, like Josh says, it's not something that's easy to come by.
No.
And so part of our business culture is that we like to look at the challenges or the problems that we have as our opportunity. And the problem that we have right now is actually getting the hemp.
Right.
It's not as easy to get just 1,000 pounds of it for testing.
Sure.
You have to be on the truckload ready to build a larger larger structure and things like that.
Right.
So we've been working hard on the actual getting of the hemp issue.
Okay.
But that's coming soon. You know, we have some Canadian hemp that we can use, but it's not. It is an agricultural product, so you never know when it's going to be done through the processing system. And they have weird things happen with their product. They might shut it down for a while until they have enough hemp, and then it doesn't get. So one of the things that we're excited about Colorado hemp is we get the processing up here and maybe we can actually get it when we need it. It's not like most in the building industry, you go down and you buy it. And so what's our problem now will be our opportunity in the future. We're going to stick it out. We're figuring out how to import what we need. The hemp hurd, which is the inner part of the stalk, is what we need for our product. Now, we also hope to be involved in some of the future development of other products that are made out of hemp for home building. I'm really excited about the chipboard that Jason Love had a sample of at the Capitol. It was about this big, but it could be used for, the exterior boarding and things like that. And it was a lightweight product, and it was really nice. And it could be countertops and things like that, and even roofing shingles, and eventually foundations through bricks and things like that. And so the future is very bright. What we have right now is something that we can build a luxury home that's super comfortable and super good for the earth and super energy efficient for what maybe another energy upgrade would cost you. So if you're going to build a home in the mountains of Colorado and you're going to heat it with solar, or you're going to do solar voltaic electric panels, you could probably afford in your same price range, to use the hemp.
Right.
When we can get it here, we ought to be able to build, more affordable houses for people that work for a living, not just the high dollar houses, but everybody's house ought to be built out of hemp once we have Colorado products.
But that, that's very much like any new technology. It always goes to the more affluent areas first. I mean, you look at like the Tesla car. I mean, it's a gorgeous car. I totally would love to have one. But to get the new Tesla S sedan, it's fully electric with like a 300+ mile charge. It's what electric car should be with all its bells and whistles. It's like $70+ grand. Well, that's obviously not affordable for anybody right now. I mean, for some people. But so we're saying the same thing right now because it's not readily available. It's going to be more for those people who can custom build their homes and such like that. But
however, though, the two potential home buyers that we have are home, who are ready to go with hemp. They are in the High Park Fire area, and so one is the nature of the product being, I'm not going to say fireproof, but nearly fireproof, we'll put it that way. And the other one, the homeowner has chemical sensitivities, and you can imagine with all the burning and the chemical and all that. So here's a home buyer who has no other option at this point, and so we're trying to introduce an alternative to maybe not having an option. So even though more affluent people, there's been people in this industry and other places who are willing to chip in a few bucks and say, hey, we'd like to restore this family back to being able to live in the mountains and in the chemical-free zone and really enjoy this house, really enjoy this probably more than they'll ever enjoy a house. And for us, that's rewarding. That's a big part of why we want to do a lot of this stuff, because we feel, we've got a solution for a lot of people looking for an alternative.
Right. Now, there's 2 points that you kind of just talked over a little bit quick that I want to kind of backtrack a little bit. One is the fact that you said it's nearly fireproof or very fire resistant. So I want to let me get them both out so I don't forget. And the other one was about a chemical-free home.
Yeah, chemical sensitivity.
Right.
A lot of folks seem to really, that's a big issue these days for a lot of people. And when you're looking at a home, boy, that's something I'd really want to take a look in my long-term investment.
So now, what is it about the hemp as a building material that allows somebody to have a home built that's chemical-free?
Okay. JP probably be a little.
All right. Well, there's a few things. One is the material itself. It's a plant. It's not made from oil or anything like that. We mix it a little bit with a little bit of lime and a little bit of concrete, but there's not very much off-gassing of the actual material. And so we can build the floor, the walls, and the roof structure with this. We have to put another roofing shingle or something like that on the outside of it. So it can pretty much completely surround you, instead of surrounding yourself with things like plastic and even water-based paint actually have oil products in them, and fiberglass insulation, and Tyvek is another plastic, and so the breathability and the fact that there's the material itself is clean. And then the breathability means that there's less molds and actually less air that has to mix around in there. So it's a cleaner indoor air environment because of that as well.
Okay.
And in fact, when I was out in Wisconsin, I met several people, but one of the things that I just didn't know, I mean, I'd looked into the efficiency and things like that, but I hadn't thought about the health thing at all. And a guy had been invited out there to talk, and he got up, and he was an architect designer that worked on one of the first homes in Asheville, North Carolina, and he went on a search for the best way to build a home, but his reason wasn't environmental. He said, don't get me wrong, he says, I love the earth and all, but I did it because my daughter has chemical sensitivity, so she'll have seizures, and she's like 3 or 4 years old, and so I went on a worldwide search to find a material that I could build with that was the most clean for her to clean up her indoor air, and so through his worldwide search, he found that hemp was the best way to go for a system like that, and so he's has been involved in the design of a couple of homes in that area.
In Asheville, North Carolina,
the only place in the United States that it's really starting to take off. And so he's going to be working on a group home for kids like his daughter and others, other families like that. It'll be a little group home, so they can come and they can actually live, hopefully seizure free in their home. And there's just not that many places that they can do that. So
now, after he built this home, did he notice a lessening in seizures from his daughter?
I didn't get a chance to talk to him a whole lot about that. I know, he was working on the one group home, but I don't know that he had that one built. And then he had convinced a couple other people in Asheville to do it. And, he was able to clean up some of his indoor air that he had in the facility that he was living in.
Okay, cool. Well, we have to go on another break.
All right.
It's flying by all of a sudden today. When we get back, though, I do want to talk about the fire resistance of hemp building materials, especially in concerns. I mean, we're entering wildfire season again. We've already had one.
Already started.
It's already started.
If it hasn't impacted you yet here in Colorado, it's gonna. And
exactly.
We've been pretty impacted up north.
Yeah,
no
I
doubt.
know.
It's on our minds all the time.
All right. Well, we'll take a quick break, and we'll come right back, and we'll talk about this topic that's actually very important for people who live out here in Colorado. So we'll be back in just a moment. Thanks for listening.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
River Rock Wellness, located at 4935 York Street and on the corner of 6th and Calumet, right next to Lamar's Donuts at 990 West 6th Avenue, offers in-house, award-winning organic medical cannabis flowers, concentrates, tinctures, topicals, edibles, and raw superfoods for all patients. Prices range from $160 to $240 an ounce, with member and non-member benefits including caregiver, SSI, SSDI, vets, travelers, and sponsored programs. With brands you trust like Healthy Creations, Rare Dankness, Rock Butter, Priva, Token Daily, and more. Become a River Rock patient or renew with us today and receive a $100 ounce of choice. Offer good through April 20th, 2013.
Whether you are a commercial grower or cultivate as a hobby, No Dough Urban Garden Supply is Denver's first stop for your hydroponic grow needs. With a wide range of products including House and Garden, Botanicare, and Fox Farm, their knowledgeable staff can get you started on your first garden or help you with your well-established business. No Dough Urban Garden Supply is located in downtown Denver at 1330 27th Street, 4 blocks north of Coors Field near MMD of Colorado. They are open 6 days a week from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 303-296-3424 or visit them on the web at www.nodoughurbangardensupply.com.
All right, we're back. Sorry, we're just having a great conversation in the break that we're going to try to redo.
It's contagious, this hemp talk.
It is. So when we left the break, I said I wanted to talk about the Hyde Park fire, and of course, and the potential for hemp building materials to be fire resistant, especially for homes that are in those threat zones in Colorado. So why is it that through your study and through your research and discovery, what is it about hemp that allows it to be fire resistant? Because my first thought was, well, it's a plant. It's going to burn just like wood. So why is it when it turns into a composite?
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Well, I got on the airplane and the Hyde Park fire was burning like crazy, and I'm in Wisconsin. My family and community were all back here. I got to breathe a little bit for the first few days of the fire, but that was really on my mind. And so one of my first questions to Steve Allen was, what's this fire resistant properties? And he was from Ireland, and he looks at me and he says, "Oh, John, you can hardly burn it. You can hardly burn it if you try." And he says, "I've got a video online. You can go look at it, and you can go find Steve Allen's where he puts a torch on it for one of his blocks that he's made for directly on it with very little damage in like a 10-minute test. There has been some tests in Germany where they've tested it in a little bit more of a official commercial testing application, and after an hour and 40 minutes, the mortar joint started to fail. Not the hemp itself, and that's all they had after that was from that study. So hopefully they'll have some further information on some of those studies coming out. But it doesn't sustain a fire. And the reason why is because it's not just the plant material that we're using. We're mixing it with a lime binder. And when we mix it with a lime binder and a little bit of water, then it turns to a near stone-like material. And so over time it becomes more stone, and that's why it's very fire resistant. The lime actually changes the property of the hemp from a plant type material or woody type material into a stone type material.
Well, and then of course you're looking at the fact that you're building the walls out of this material as opposed to drywall. And drywall, I know they put some chemicals in drywall to try to make it fire resistant, but then you're dealing with chemicals, right? I mean, this is chemical free, and so it is resistant. I mean, I think the big thing to say to listeners is, look, it's not fireproof.
No,
but
nothing really is. And some of those temperatures at the High Park fire. There's nothing that would.
It burns so hot. I mean, trees would explode and all that. But if there's some way for a home to work to slow down the fire, which is kind of what we're talking about here.
Exactly. A lot of houses didn't burn in the High Park fire. You drive through there, and there's a lot of people still living up there. And they didn't burn, and they'd done some mitigation, and maybe they had put a metal roof on their house, or maybe they had it stuccoed and done everything that they could to preserve it from fire. And this is kind of I think this goes one step further than most of those other options, where it really it's a lot more fire resistant because it's so much of the material mass, and it does essentially turn to stone.
So one of the things we mentioned during the break, Josh, you mentioned it, is 42% of our electricity or energy in this country is utilized for buildings and homes to heat and cool them.
Heating and cooling.
And I know I had asked if there's a hard evidence on reduction of heating costs with utilizing hemp homes. We already know there's a reduction, but we can't really speak towards the exact reduction, correct?
Well, it would be hard because there's a lot of different things that go into to play there, and one of the main things is home design. You want to design your home. That we've really been doing this forever, ever since the sun is shining. There's been humans on the planet trying to live in a cave dwelling. They faced them to the south. They utilize the sun for their power.
Of course.
And so a lot depends on how we design them in the first place. And if we do face them right and put our windows in the right location, and then use a material, hemp or straw bales are nice, but I think we have a lot of advantages over other types of things. The rammed earth or tires and things like that. Those are other alternative methods. Those are good methods. I mean, they're an answer to the problem. However, hemp has some advantages. It's easier once we're actually growing it here. It's easier than a lot of those methods. It's not as thick of a wall. It's much more durable. Where a straw bale, it's stuccoed on the outside, but on the inside it's still straw.
And where do most of your house fires start? Probably on the inside.
Right.
Which that makes a big difference too.
Right. Plus, if you're utilizing hemp to make your countertops, well, as in a kitchen fire, which is where it usually starts, is in the kitchen. Now you're already taking preventive measures.
Yeah, hopefully.
We're talking down the line. I mean, insurance companies should be able to take on, hey, if you have a hemp home, you should have a reduced price on your homeowner's insurance, or we have energy savings where you can do tax deductions. That's when I'm going to get really excited. And I know you guys are going to get really excited when they start saying, okay, you get a tax break for building your home out of hemp. So there's all these possibilities. One of the things I did mention though during the break too is I want to talk when you guys say breathability of a home. I know to some of our listeners they're going to say, well, wait a minute. When you're saying it's breathable, but it holds and retains heat or the temperature in the home, that doesn't seem like it makes sense because correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, one of the issues in a lot of current modern housing is they're all about sealing it really tight, which actually can cause mold problems because if you get a little bit of moisture in the wall, it has nowhere to go.
Yep, right, exactly.
So talk to me about when you say breathability, but then it also locks in the heat. It does seem like it does. It contradicts
I can
itself.
give you a pretty good analogy.
Yeah.
Have you ever used a plastic garbage bag as a poncho?
Yes. I have.
Is that pretty comfortable? That's pretty comfortable, isn't it?
Not at all.
What's it feel like?
It feels like I'm like in a sweatshop. I mean, basically, you just like you get super hot. I mean, any
like
of
you're
those.
getting ready for a wrestling meet.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, remember the first Gore-Tex jacket that you ever got to put on? What was it like in comparison?
Way better because it was breathable.
It was breathable. We all know that word from our
yeah.
outdoor equipment.
Yes.
And so really it's the same, except that plastic bag is not quite as close to you. It's your exterior walls and things like that. But that's really the best analogy that I can give. The Gore-Tex jacket protects against the weather, and it has not so much air infiltration. It keeps you protected from the wind because it's also got kind of that layer in there that actually is the windbreaker of it. Okay. And so hemp works in a lot of the same way. It lets the moisture slowly in and slowly out of your house, and it lets the heat slowly. It absorbs the thermal heat from the inside. So if you have a wood stove going or another heater, things like that, the hemp actually absorbs that, kind of like concrete does. But concrete typically feels cold all the time, and the reason that hemp is different than concrete in that way is it has the capacity to release the heat energy from its walls that's stored at a quicker rate than what concrete does. Wow. So it makes it a more comfortable home in that way.
Gotcha. Now, when it comes to heating or cooling a home, because I know I've heard stories, there's the microbrewery that's made out of hemp. And they claim that they've never had to turn their heat or their air conditioning. That's their claim.
The place is small, though. It's only like, 5 football fields or so.
And this is one of those things that I love the sound. It's only 5 football fields.
It's a tiny little brewery.
I love that. I love the fact that that's being said, and I mean, I hope that's exactly accurate. I really do. But it's one of those things that always seems like a weird thing to me, too. Again, kind of with the breathability. Okay, so now you're telling me that in the summer it keeps me cool, and in the winter it keeps me warm, and I don't have to turn my air conditioning and my heat on. How does that work? I mean, shouldn't I have to turn my air conditioning on at least once to get my house to the temperature I want it? Then I can shut it off
and slowly pull it out.
Yeah, I mean, so like, how does that kind of work? I mean, it's very curious to me.
Well, the brewery, they have a specific need. They're trying to keep their beer at a constant temperature, and that's more maybe like a cave temperature. Now, we don't want to live in a cave,
no,
and so, but the closer that we can mimic the cave temperature year-round, the less heating and cooling needs we have on either side of it. And again, a lot of it is home design, how you're actually gathering the sun and storing that sun inside of your house and then releasing it. And so when it's 12 below out for 5 days, you're going to need some external heat.
You are.
There's just no way to get around that here in
Right.
Colorado, and most areas from here on north are going to have that issue.
So you won't need as much.
But you don't need as much, and there's going to be a lot of times of the year that you're not going to need very much. And the way our summers work out here, a well-designed home shouldn't need air conditioning, whether you build it out of hemp or not, in my opinion, or very little cooling.
Right.
And there's some things we can do in the design that help with cooling that don't take the huge electrical air conditioning needs. We can solar cool a house, essentially, here in Colorado.
Right.
A little harder to do in some of the southern states and things like that, but we could even make an impact down there on some of their cooling needs, because down there it's all cooling. Up here it's more heating.
Right.
We spend hundreds of dollars a month on our heating bill. And so one of the things is that makes these a little bit more affordable is when you look at maybe $100 savings a month, maybe you cut your bill in half from $200 to $100. That can be pretty significant. Now, you might get some of those advantages with some of your other energy upgrades if you super insulate or something like that. But their costs go up when you increase that ability too.
Now, we're talking a lot about new homes. And I get that that's generally where you're going to enter that market. But there's so many people out there that are like, well, that sounds all well and good, but I'm not moving out of my home. How can I incorporate hemp in my home structure to help make it more efficient? So, are you guys working on anything like that?
You bet.
Well, when I went out to take the class, I showed up at a place, and it's going to be a whole 300-acre complex where it's going to be sustainable living, and they're going to have community gardens around some of the property and things like this. And one of the structures that was initially there, the hemp wall that we built, was a remodel. We'd taken the siding and the drywall off, and we'd built the hemp wall in the existing framing.
And it was on the inside, or was it also inside and outside?
Inside and outside.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, and then finish it. So you can retrofit. I won't say easy, because no retrofit is really easy, but if you're gonna re-insulate an older home, you've got to pretty much go through what we're gonna do anyway, and that's pretty much take it down to bare framing. And so there are a lot of remodels that do that. As opposed to tearing the home down.
Or it could be a room in your home, or it could be, but as JP said, the possibility for remodel is there.
And as we get more established, and our company has ambitions to have a little bit more of an advanced way to install the material. There are sprayers available that we've got our eyes on, and
the spray installation.
Yeah,
right. So
pretty much we spray this. We spray the entire wall system.
Right.
And so we need equipment. We need big ladders, essentially, big booms and things like that.
And for those of you,
stuff like that.
For those of you who don't own a home right now or don't know what we're talking about when we talk about spray insulation, so you have the insulation, what's the name brand that everybody knows, the rollout insulation. It's the pink fiberglass that you roll out and you put on the inside. Yeah, the Pink Panther. Yeah, you roll out, put it in your wall, and then you put that drywall over it. What's that? Owens Corning, thank you. That was the word I was looking for. That's one way of insulating a home. But if you already have your walls up in your home and you don't want to take them all down and replace them, you do what's called the spray installation, which means you actually do cut a hole in your wall, but which can be repaired. And then you put this blower in there, and it blows in, this foam insulation. And you fill up the walls, and that helps insulate the home. So
it's very effective.
And it is very effective. Although in my home I have that, and it all settled down and it wasn't done properly. I don't think.
Oh, I see.
We're hoping to be.
So we're gonna call us up.
We're hoping to be involved in some research and development to where we might actually be able to use hemp for something like that.
You can use my home as a guinea pig. Absolutely.
Well, and touching that stuff, you touch that stuff, and you know right away that's some heavy duty stuff that you're putting into your walls.
It is.
And though it is effective, once again, you're sealing yourself kind of inside that box that way.
Right. I mean, you have to have a mask on when you're working with this, touch it with gloves, because if you breathe that in, I mean, it's fiberglass. I mean, it's like, it's not good for you at all.
Well, and that's something nobody really talks about that JP and I have talked about a lot. JP being in the construction trade for a long time, you just get older. You carried enough plywood. You've done a lot. And so really installation of this product is going to be far easier for the installer, as well as the health benefits. You're not going to be breathing in some of the same chemicals. And, a lot of folks don't kind of realize, the construction guys, there is no in that equation. You get it done. You build it.
We get forgotten about it.
Right.
Yeah, you kind of, and so after a while, that all does take toll. So, also providing some ease of installation is going to be a big key.
Right.
And who's not going to be for that?
Sure. Now, you guys, I mean, you're still a small company. Now, is your focus down the line going to be building the homes or creating the materials for construction companies to build the homes themselves? I mean, I know right now you're kind of wearing all of those hats, because you have to.
Both.
Yeah.
We want to be a part of, right now there's no herd processing plants on this side of the world, I don't think.
No.
And I see a big opportunity, but I think it has to be done in the right way with the right collaborations. And so, we're working, I think, within the right network. We've been real fortunate to be involved with Hemp Cleans. And so we feel like we're working in the right network to make that happen. And where we fit in that is kind of hard to say, but that is definitely, we would like to do both. But I think we also want to put that education emphasis out there. We're going to be teaching people how to do this and trying to build a workforce while we're doing it. So while we're building a house, we're going to have classes. We're going to have people. We're going to show people how to pack it in, show people how to do it, because that's just a big part of our business philosophy is going to be this education piece. And quite frankly, we're going to need a workforce, I think.
And then you're going to probably, I'm assuming you have to create a certification for people who can, I'm certified to build with hemp construction materials, and I'm certified for, for this type of material and this type of material. So there's a lot to do, isn't there?
Sure is. Yeah. Some days we look at it and we get overwhelmed, and then some days we look at it and go, how cool is this? We can be on the radio for a little while and talk hemp.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
And in fact, a big part of our business culture, you're going to hear our song here pretty quick, but when Josh first came on board, He was more of a musician than I am, and I said, we really need a hemp song because we need it to be fun, and that's a great way to carry a message is through music.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he wrote a couple of really good songs and came back to me and said, what do you think of these? And we kind of tweaked them and worked on them together a little bit and, came up with that because day to day, things get pretty tough in the hemp industry. Things don't happen how you want them to. No. They happen at a hempster pace at best. And a lot of that is because
including ourselves.
It's been 80 years
right.
since we've been able to experiment with this or actually have it coming from our own soil. So, those problems I think are going to lead us to opportunity. But the reason that we do the music part of it is because it lightens up our mood to keep drumming through the rest of the day to say, it'll come, it'll happen. This collaboration didn't work or this one didn't, but it's going to come. And so in the hemp industry, I think we've got to have that thick skin tenacity that keeps us moving forward. And that's who we are. And if we're gonna see it through, we're partway there now. We've got a lot of the legal stuff as far as Colorado goes on our side. We were seeing some national attention. We're not getting bugged by the feds yet, so we've got a lot of momentum. But we can't sit on our butts. Now's our time. Yep. We may have a small window here, and so we got to get building some hemp homes, and we've got to be building some processing equipment and get this engine going as a group, as a Colorado, the Hemp Cleans group. Really, that's why we're excited about that is because we want this engine to be moving like a freight train, so that if something happens on the federal level, it's too much of an industry now. We can't shut it down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once we're to that point, then you can take a deep breath and say, okay, now maybe we can relax a little bit. But until then, now's our time.
But unlike 20 years ago, we're looking at it differently. Whereas, boy, that'd be neat. Boy, gosh, if we could only do that. And now we're going, it's up to us to show people how to do this.
Yeah, before it was a dream, and now it's like, how do we make that dream a reality? Now it's really happening, So
the hard part starts now.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. The hard part does start now. And Hemp Cleans is an awesome organization. They did just make public the hemp bill. So I don't know if you guys have read it yet, but I did read it.
I have not.
They did a great job of keeping it as simple as possible. And that's
probably wise.
That's very wise. I appreciate it. So when we're going to go on a break. When we get back, we're going to do what's the name of the song?
Well, it's the Little Johnny Hemp Seed story. And there's Little Johnny Hemp Seeds out there, but we put our own little twist on it.
Awesome. All right. So when we get back from the break, these guys are going to do a live performance in our studio of Little Johnny Hemp Seed. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in just a moment.
Indispensary in Colorado Springs is proud to support Overgrow the Radio. With 2 locations in Colorado Springs, Indispensary invites you to discover what true selection and values feel like. Always featuring an incredible array of Stanley Brothers medicine as well as full line of edible and infused products. Indispensary is open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week, 364 days a year. You owe it to your health and well-being to discover Indispensary. Westside location at 3044 West Colorado and Eastside location at 3031 East Platte in Colorado Springs. Indispensary is your destination for indispensable quality medicine.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it. On grass. Runongrass.com. You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
All right, we're back at the Hemp Connoisseur Radio. Thanks for sticking with us. For your listening pleasure now, we have a live performance in the studio from John Patterson and Josh Rabe of their original song, Little Johnny Hemp Seed. Whenever you guys are ready.
You ready? Okay. Okay, come on, boys and girls. Gather round, gather round. Let me tell you a story. There once was a boy named Little Johnny Hemp Seed. He knew he could save the planet if people would agree. While everybody else was dealing in pollution, Little Johnny Hemp Seed had the solution. Little Johnny Hemp Seed planted his seeds from here to far, but the feds didn't agree. They said that somehow you can get high, but you see, hemp doesn't have any THC.
THC, no THC in the HEMP.
Little Johnny Hemp Seed was sad because all the rivers and streams had gone bad. They polluted the sky and everything went by. Little Johnny Hemp Seed showed them a new oil supply, but no one cared or even replied. He watched as they polluted the groundwater with fracking chemicals, and all they had to do was plant some hemp. Hemp makes more oxygen for the earth.
Oxygen, 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 oxygen.
Little Johnny Hemp Seed grew up to be a strong boy and kept trying to employ his hemp seed rhetoric, out there trying to let the world know that there was a renewable energy source that reverses global warming. But yet nobody wanted to have it. So Little Johnny Hemp Seed went around planting his seeds, but the big fed wolf didn't agree.
Hey, John, why is it illegal?
Well, Josh, here in Colorado, we've made it legal.
All
All we got to do is get past the feds, and we're there.
All right.
We got some work to do.
Okay.
Little Johnny Hemp Seed was always so sad because he said, why can't we get our hemp plant back? You see, it's my kids and your kids and everyone growing up in this toxic environment. That is what we pay for. It's up to us to clean it up. We need to grow up and all together grow some cannabis.
Hey, John, really, you haven't quite convinced me yet. Tell me more.
I'd be glad to, Josh. See, Little Johnny Hemp Seed knew the answer for cleaning the water and reconstituting the soil, for our nutrition and everything we can build with it. And everything you need can be made out of hemp for industry. It's a product that can do everything from clean your windows to bake your bread. Hemp is the answer, and he planted those seeds until Little Johnny Hemp Seed became an old man. He one day dreamed that the field he'd sown would provide all the energy for everyone on planet Earth. It provided a renewable energy source far greater than cutting down trees. His whole life, greed controlled us, and that greed took over the planet. They refused to open their mind, and they'd called marijuana evil. They don't understand that one goes to the head and one goes to the pocket.
Hey, let me ask you a question. How many times have you heard of a tanker full of hemp spilling over in the ocean and polluting all the waterways?
I've never heard that. You guys, you ever hear about
Never
that?
heard
about that?
I never heard of
Yeah.
Let me know.
Okay, yeah,
if it
that
happens.
sounds...
Yeah, if I hear about something, yeah.
He was one little boy against corporate greed, a young entrepreneur with ambitions to do it legally. He had planted many seeds, but some are told this is so evil.
Because it's a weed?
It's just a weed.
Oh, I'm so scared because it's a plant that can provide more renewable energy than anything else on the planet, but I've got all my money in clean coal, JP.
Why, Josh?
Oh, I don't know.
When you can grow a weed and then run your car with it, build a car with it, build a house with it, make plastic out of it, bake with it, cook with it, soap, shampoo, medicine, heat your home with it, you can even make a didgeridoo with it. Let's all grow some cannabis. So Little Johnny Hemp Seed lives in me. With Little Johnny Hemp Seed, we'll spread the possibilities. With Little Johnny Hemp Seed houses. Little Johnny Hemp Seed space capsules up in the mountains. Hemp flower powering our bodies. Hemp seed powering our cars. Hemp roots nutrifying our skin. Hemp herd in our walls. Hemp fiber in the paper of our money. Little Johnny Hemp Seeds bringing milk and honey.
All right, all you little boys and girls at home, please sing along, because it's a hemp seed revival for our survival. A hemp seed revival for our survival.
Join with us, everybody, this day, April 4th, 2013, marks a revolution. It's a hemp seed revival, and we feel it's for all our survival.
It's a hemp seed
Join us on Facebook.com/Hemp Seed Revival and join the movement.
Survival, yeah.
Right on, guys. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's a great song. I love it. That's awesome.
We love doing it. It just lightens our day and
Yeah.
kind of lightens the mood of the industry. And I think
Yeah.
it just gets meshing out in a I don't know, a groovy hempster style way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can say it was the first hemp song ever sung at Denver's Capitol on Hemp Lobby Day.
Yes.
You guys had to do it. You had to really shout it out and echo through the halls. We were in the rotunda, but it was really
think
cool.
It just went up.
There were all these people wrapped around listening.
Yeah,
I mean,
awesome.
state representatives listen
awesome.
to it, so it's really. And you're right. I think it's great. I mean, song is a great way to kind of communicate that and kind of get it to catch on. And I love it. I'm looking forward to hearing some other songs you guys have down the line.
All right.
So before we go, we did get a comment saying I would love to get a job in construction building hemp homes.
That's really interesting because it's been of our good fortune lately that I've talked to a number of people who really want to work for us.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely a good sign, I think, and really a sign that people get this. Mm-hmm. People understand that this is what's going to revolutionize our industry, and quite frankly, they want to be a part of it. They want to work for a company that our goals are to really save the planet. I mean, and honestly, we feel we have a solution to do so. So it's been amazing to me. The younger generation, I'm not so much of that generation anymore, hitting at 40, but I am a musician. So I meet a lot of young people. And a lot of the young people that I'm meeting right now, when I tell them what we're doing, they go, how do I sign up? Right. I want a job. I want to learn how to do this. And we take that as a real sign. And really developing our workforce is something that we spend a considerable amount of time on.
So how do they sign up?
Well, you bet. Great question.
I mean, I know our listeners. We have a listener who definitely expressed interest. I hope they're still listening. Please let them know how to get in contact with you guys. Don't give them phone numbers over the line, but any email or website.
If you connect with our Facebook page and you leave me a little message that you're specifically interested and you saw us on this show. Or if there's a link on your website to put them in touch with me.
Sure.
We also have hempseedrevival.com.
So you have Hemp Seed Revival. What's the Facebook page?
/Hemp Seed Revival.
Hemp Seed Revival again. Okay.
So contact us through that, and we'll be in touch with you. And right now, we're looking for people that are wanting to join kind of a fun movement.
Right.
And in the future, and could be the fairly new future where we're actually doing some training courses that'll train you to build out of hemp. We're hoping to do some of those this summer. And then in the not too distant future, we're hoping to actually, be building crews that will do this.
Right.
And so, and possibly sales positions and all kinds of things. Right now we're new. It's Josh and I and Melissa.
And all our supporters.
Right.
Yes,
right.
Which we're finding a tremendous amount of. When our legislators come up to us specifically and say that they're real excited about what you're doing, boy, that sure gets you excited about your business and what we can do. And quite honestly, what a great thing if we could be a vessel through which great jobs, great environment for the planet, and we can all make some money. A lot of people are saying, sign me up.
Yeah. So
and that's what we've always claimed is that it would do that for our communities. The whole hemp movement's been going on for 20 years. Jack Herrera kind of started it. And that's what we've claimed. And now that we have an opportunity, we better prove it to be true.
Right.
And so that's we're
We're
stepping
putting our
up
money
to the
where our
plate.
mouth is,
It's not going to happen if everybody sits down.
Absolutely. All right. So once again, it's hempseedrevival.com or their Facebook page for Hemp Seed Revival as well to get in contact with both Josh and John. If you guys are interested in being at the cutting edge of, I would say, modern construction with hemp and really
Most definitely.
this is the time to get in. I mean, look, we're all in this to help save the world, but there's nothing wrong with making a little bit of money while doing it, and because we are in a free market society.
We got to pay our bills.
We got to
keep
bills.
ourselves alive, and so we better find good things that intrigue us and are fun for us.
Yeah, there's no reason why you can't save the environment and make a living at the same time.
That's right.
Exactly.
And there's very few emerging industries that people can get in at the ground level at. Really, cannabis as a whole, whether you're on the medical side or on the industrial side,
I agree.
This is where it's at for anybody who really wants to make a huge impact on a brand new industry. So I think you guys would be great contacts for anybody who's interested in construction and looking at expanding to to utilizing hemp materials, I know I'm going to talk with you as soon as we get off of
All
this
right.
about my house.
And that we do have presentations. We're willing to sit down, and you know, we thrive on people who have cutting edge ideas. We want to meet architects, engineers. We, you know, quite frankly, we'd like to meet some people with some money that would help fund us do what we want to do too. So, yeah, we love sitting down and talking about this stuff. We could go another 3 hours with you.
Oh, I know
easy,
we could.
So.
I know we could.
So if somebody would like to pick up where we left off, we'd be more than happy to talk.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll probably definitely have you guys on again. You guys are a pleasure to have
Great.
on. I
And
mean,
we love coming to the Hemp Cleans events down there at Hood Lab.
Yep.
So if you've been
Yes.
thinking about coming to those are a great opportunity to get involved.
Absolutely.
That's really what's really helped propel us forward with our motivation and giving us the kind of gumption that we can do this because that group exists. If
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
us, I don't know that we would be as far as we are.
No.
now.
We all
not
work
at all.
together, and that's one of the things I will say about the hemp industry and the alliance between everybody here is everybody. You guys are focusing on the building materials. Other people are looking at foods and textiles, but everybody is working together, and that's something that I would say is just awesome to be a part of. It is a real movement that is moving, not a movement that's been sticking in the same place for a while, which it had been really, but now it is really, really moving forward. And if you haven't been on the bandwagon yet, it's time to get on it. So
You got it.
You know, hempseedrevival.com. Get on Hemp Cleans and check it out. If you guys aren't just interested in construction materials, but you want to know what you can do when it comes to volunteering for hemp and getting into some part of the industry, that would be the website I would send everybody to is Hemp Cleans.
Yes.
But if you want to talk to Josh and John specifically, because they're awesome guys anyway, and I definitely recommend it, definitely
We
go
like
to
to have
Hemp Seed.
fun.
Yeah,
So,
hempseedrevival.com.
that's what it's about.
Thanks again for joining us, guys. Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much
much for
for
having
doing
us.
what you're doing. Thanks for moving the hemp movement forward along with everybody else. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to have you guys on again.
Privileged to be here.
You know, a little bit of house cleaning, you guys. We have our magazine coming out very soon, so look for it at your local dispensary next week. This is an awesome book. It is our commemorative issue. It is 100 pages long, so it was a beast for us to put together, but it is great, guys. I'm really proud of it. It's probably the best magazine we put out, so definitely keep an eye out for it. It'll be hitting your local dispensary everywhere next week. And don't forget to tune in to other iCannabis radio shows. Everybody does a little something different. If you haven't heard me say this before, obviously we focus on hemp here at the Hemp Connoisseur Radio, but we have Mondays with Georgia from 7 to 8. Oh, my Boston accent just came out there for a second. And then we have In the Lab with Jennifer on Mondays at 3 p.m. Tuesdays, we have Sex Pot Radio with Jenny Cush, always an interesting show from 6 to 8. Wednesday, we have iDab Radio from 7 to 9. They actually check iCannabisRadio.com to find out when their next live show is because they seem to be doing it once a month now. And then, of course, Mondays through Friday, John Doe Radio from 11 a.m. to 1 I wrote that wrong. 1 p.m. That would be the word I meant to say. Once again, John Doe Radio, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Monday through Friday. Thanks again for listening to the Hemp Connoisseur Radio. Don't make sure to check out our magazine coming out. And don't forget to get your tickets on castlemans.com for our 420 party featuring Barrington Levy. Of course, somebody asked me when my 420 party was. 420. That would be when it is. So thanks for listening.
Don't be a minute late.
Don't be a minute late, exactly. And peace, love, and hempiness.